it's funny because you usually don't get good ideas when you're running 100-mile races. But when I was running the race in 2014, and I was just, as you're running, you talk to people, of course, other people running it, and I'm talking to a guy who, the week before, he was working with natives in the Amazon, or somebody else who's running it because of a dead friend or whatever, and I just thought everybody running this thing is a novel unto itself. And I thought I need, and I like to document things. That's just something I like to do. I like to photograph, I like to write things down. And so I said, I need to tell some of these stories. And the most important thing I could do was get the race director's cooperation. He's a good friend of mine, but in fact, I said, I need to talk to you about a book idea. And I said, okay, if I don't have your confidence and support, I'm not going to do this. So here's what I want to do. And you could tell he was a little nervous about it, of course, because it meant him opening his life up. Because if I'm going to write about his race, I'm going to write about him too. And luckily, though, I convinced him, and I can't say I convinced him. Luckily, he was open to the idea. And then I spent the next 2 years just basically talking to people and getting to know people. I chose 8 runners, and some people, when I asked, said, no, I don't want you writing about me. Understandably so, because to me, you're really opening yourself up. You're making yourself very vulnerable, because you don't know what I'm gonna say about you. You really don't. So it's a very you have to feel somewhat naked to say, sure, go ahead and write my story, because the story writer never gets the story exactly right according to the person whose story it is. Never. But I did my best.
So it's 100 miles, roughly. And how long do you have to run 100 miles?
So that's a good question. That describes what kind of race you're running. Because each race has a cutoff time period. We talked about Barkley. I don't know. You've got a lot of hours to finish Barkley, right? Because it's a really difficult race. Another incredibly difficult race in the U.S. is Hard Rock. I think you get 48 hours to finish Hard Rock. It's in the San Juan Mountains of Colorado with some 14,000 foot type stuff. Superior, which is one of the harder races, has a 38-hour cutoff. Some easier races may have like a 24-hour cutoff, meaning you have that much time to complete the race. So you can kind of get a sense of the difficulty of the course by how long you're allowed to run it. You really need to consider the difference between discomfort and pain if you want to get through it, I think. Because discomfort is something that's very acceptable and temporary. And so I think usually the miserable moments have come about because of weather. When I had been running it at the Zumbro 100 for about 24 hours, and it was maybe 35 degrees, and this horrible wind, rain onslaught came out of the sky with hail and lightning, and I ended up dropping from that race. What do they call it when you have you can't stop shaking?
Hypothermia?
Hypothermia, thank you, is the word. I was pretty blue, and my arms were just shaking. About the toe socks can really reduce the amount of blister. Probably because my toes aren't rubbing against each other. Blisters are really just 3 things combined: heat, moisture, and friction. So we want to avoid as many of those things as we can. I'm putting gaiters on, and gaiters are just one more thing to keep stuff out of my shoes. You really want to protect those feet. And granted, I'm going to go through streams, creeks, and water's going to get in there and so on. But I need this to be as protected as I can. And so one more layer, a little Velcro here, something to keep the keep the trash out right there. And now I'm ready to run.
Do you mind talking a little bit about how this running relates to your sobriety and how maybe you came to that point or how they intersected?
Absolutely. How does the running is a big piece of my recovery. It's not something I depend on for my recovery. When I say recovery, I mean recovery from alcohol and drug abuse, or addiction rather. Running can't be the answer to my recovery because I'm gonna get injured, I'm gonna get hurt. The running might not always be there, but it is good therapy. And I find that at these races of ultra long distances, there are many people like me there. So I have many friends in recovery, I have many friends in long running. And then if you want to think of the Venn diagram, I have some really great friends of that place where those two things intersect. And there are tons of people where those two things intersect. It seems as if we talked about the question, what's wrong with you that you would run 100 miles? I find that there is a lot of people who deal with mental illness, with addiction, eating disorder, those kind of things, drawn to that long running game, probably because it takes an obsessive type of mind, probably because you really have to get to know yourself. And here's something I think is interesting. Some people will say, oh, you're exchanging addictions. You know, you gave up booze, you picked up running. I ran through my last drug. So I can't say that that's true. But a guy I know described it really well when he said, when I was using it, I was always putting masks on. I didn't even want to know who I was when I was using. I didn't want to face who I was and those hard truths. When I'm out on mile 80, I've pulled off every possible mask that I might possibly wear. I'm